Hi everybody and welcome back. I am Jenny and today we're going to continue with something that we started a few videos back, looking at our mock client Toby, who we've had a 15-minute phone consultation with, and we talked a little bit and looked behind the scenes at the forms that Toby would have filled out so you could get the client-facing view of it. And then today we're going to go back and look at, as the clinician, what would we actually see once Toby has filled out the forms. So I am going to show you Toby's information here in the simple practice is what I use for my EHR. So here I've got his intake form that I just downloaded. So he filled this out, and then I'm going to move myself over there so you can see this better. Okay, so here you can see how he filled out the form and all of the information. And if you watched the video last time, you saw, again, the kind of client-facing version of this, which was a Google form. And then I use Autocrat, and I am able to kind of like do a mail merge and be able to take all that information that Toby filled out and then just put it into this format here, which is just a little nicer to look at. So I have the general information first, and then employment, education, military, the family information, things about kind of the social situation, and some information too just about kind of growing up and describing the family home, and then the problem that Toby is wanting to get assistance with. And then the risk assessment information. The things that are stressing Toby out right now and how much. The ACEs. And Toby's strengths, and then the medical history, substance use information, and mental health information. So, and then the last little parts are developmental information, menstruation, pregnancy history, emergency contact information. And then that's it. I'm going to go ahead and link a copy of this in the comments below this video so that you will have access to take a closer look at it. And his scores on the GAD-7 show severe anxiety, so you can go through and you can see how Toby answered those questions. And look at his PHQ-9. So client reports thoughts of suicide or self-harm, so you get a warning when people do that. So this is just how it looks on Simple Practice. But of course, there's lots of different ways that you could do this. And you can just see how he answered those questions. So this is my little cheat sheet that I use when I am meeting with someone for the first time. And I've taken some time to kind of digest and put in one place everything that they already filled out, so I can be addressing those things. At the same time, I can know the questions that I want to ask them. So here you can see I've put the information from Toby's clinical assessments, and then I have my kind of list here of things to go over in person or if it's by video, but face to face, looking at the informed consent information that Toby's already looked at and he's already signed. I want to make sure we also have some time to actually have a verbal conversation about it as well. So that's what I have there. And then when we're actually meeting, I'll go through and kind of check off, okay, we talked about that, etc. And then I have questions that I generally ask folks, and especially looking at how Toby answered certain questions, I will modify some of the questions that I want to put here accordingly. So some questions on safety. And depending on how Toby answers some of these, I may decide that we want to do a safety plan. Toby answered questions about alcohol and kind of that he was using, then he stopped, and then there's some indication that he might be using again. And so I'm just wanting to check out specifically for Toby on that. And then some of these other questions I ask everybody, just wanting to get to know them better and kind of hear more of their story. So, and it also opens the door for folks to talk about their culture, which folks, what I have found a lot of times when people come from a culture that is not the majority, white, Christian, heterosexual, then they have a lot more to say in response to this question. For others who do fit more of that kind of majority mold, they often kind of say, I don't know what you mean. And I think that's a reflection of something. You can make of that what you will, but that's been my experience. And when that does happen, then I try to kind of explain, it could be your race, your ethnicity, it could be your religious upbringing, or just the things that make you you that are important that you want me to know about. And then talk about childhood, growing up. And those are questions that I like to ask because through my lens that I'm working with, there's an attachment lens to it. And so I have found it's helpful to get the lay of the land a little bit to start with. And of course, we're not just talking about childhood for the sake of going to the past, but to see how does it inform what's happening right here and now. And then I have a little section after that that's more looking at the treatment planning, what the goals might look like. And I've given a kind of provisional idea for a diagnosis. We don't formally do the diagnosis till we actually meet and go through the whole assessment. But this is just kind of a guess or a wonder if this could be some of the things that are going into Toby's situation based on what we know so far. And then the treatment goals. And then, so the treatment goals that I put here, Toby will feel more relaxed and at peace with his life on a day-to-day basis and have an improved relationship with his partner Annie, and just that his fears and worries will decrease. So in another video we can talk more about treatment planning, how I do that, what format I use, and of course there are lots of really great resources for figuring out how to do diagnosing and treatment planning. And one place that I would recommend is going to PESI, P-E-S-I, and they have some good resources and trainings there that you can look at. And then for the treatment planning specifically, I have these questions that help me to conceptualize, and then I use that information when I do the treatment plan. Tell me more about your relationship with Annie, because that was one of the big problems that Toby highlighted. And then also symptoms of anxiety and depression. I wanted to know more about kind of the how those things started and when. And then we want to look at kind of the severity of these problems, how long they last, so the duration and the frequency. And that's pretty much it. And then after that, the last thing that I might ask is just, or either ask or just kind of open the door for a conversation about how long we may want to be working together. Does it look like it might be 3 months, a year, 2 years? And then how often? Do we think we want to meet weekly to start with and then maybe scale it back over time? And that's often what I do. So that just gives you an idea about what it looks like after a client has filled out the initial forms before you've actually met with them. What are some things that you could potentially do to help start to get a sense for who is this client, what their needs might be, and what questions would we want to ask them? I hope this is helpful, and let me know in the comments below if there's other things that you're wondering about or more that you would like to see from me. And otherwise, I hope that you will give this a like, share it with other people, subscribe if you would like to subscribe, and I'll be putting out more videos soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.